Okay, so the new member orientation, going through the basics. So you are part of our new community makerspace. And during this orientation, we're going to kind of go through who we are, the benefits of being a member, general information about the organization and the space, community commitment, accessing the makerspace, general safety, knowledge and training consumables, how to find things around the space, how to store projects and materials, how to control waste removal around the space, and kind of next steps. So the mission of our organization, we're really focused on, we're place and program based, really focused on having tools and equipment to help the community have access to the space to either grow professionally or personally, really focused on creative sector. And so we partner with schools and other community organizations on bringing programs here and actually going out into the community with programs. And we do that through kind of 3 pillars. There's creation, which is our makerspace, our community makerspace here in the Orange Innovation Center. And then education, which are our general classes. We have a creative sector pathway program for 13 to 24-year-olds. We have entrepreneur education classes, and then our other physical location in Athol, the Pleasant Street School that we're building out. Like I said, that'll be independent space and event space and classes, a classroom for entrepreneur education, and the shared use commercial kitchen and childcare, low-cost childcare. So our organization is run by a board of directors, and we have a staff member. I'm the CEO and co-founder along with Alec McLeod. You can see that we are really run by volunteers, our day-to-day operations. So we have shop stewards who their position is they work a shift a week and they help keep the space clean, fun, and functioning and safe. We also have other volunteers out with grant writing, workshop coordination, social media, marketing, and then we have a program director, Sid Nordstrom, a grant administrator, Karen Stevenson, and then we are currently looking for a facility manager. So how the space works is some of the member benefits. So as a member, you get the 10% off our classes, and you also get the 10% off the workshop in Worcester. We have our community garden at the Pleasant Street location, and you get 50% off community garden beds. You also get $5 off the YMCA that's downstairs in the Orange Innovation Center. And if you're a member of Plum and Harvest, you get $5 off of our membership. We're really focusing on developing partnerships within the building and the community that focus on a holistic approach to success. So that's health, physical health, mental health, through discounts. And then the amenities of space, obviously you get access to the space, you're getting access to all of our tools and equipment. We have an amazing volunteer or community of talent. So we have volunteers and members around the space that you can ask questions to and collaborate with and connect with. And then the Makerspace is located in the Orange Innovation Center, and there's 50 businesses here that, there's a Pilates studio, there's a yoga studio, there's the Y, there's a laundromat, there's a hair salon and beauty salon and nail salon, and there's a bunch of social service agencies in the building. There's tattoo parlors. So there's a lot of stuff here to take advantage of. You gotta spend the day here and get a bunch of stuff done. We actually do have a lot of members that will be doing their laundry while working on a project and then go to the gym or then go to the brewery. Yeah, so it's you actually end up spending the full day here, which we love. So accessing the space, the Makerspace is open Wednesdays and Thursdays 1 to 8, and Saturdays 10 to 6, and Sundays 12 to 5. Sometimes we have special holiday hours, which are sent out via email and posted on our social media. And the building hours to get into the building are Monday through Friday, 5 to 10, and Saturday and Sunday, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. So to get your 10% off, there's 2 codes. One of them is for one-time classes. Most of our classes are one-time classes. And then there's reoccurring classes. So there's the 2 separate codes. The reoccurring class are classes like we have a monthly quilting class. We have a monthly fiber art open studio. We have the weekly stained glass open studio. So those are all the ones that are considered reoccurring. And so you will use the member 10 for all of the classes. You'll use the LS member. We do have a special member network for Wi-Fi. So when you go onto your devices, you'll look for the LS member network, and then the password is Liftoff 2023 with a capital L. And that just gives you higher speeds than our general guest network. So kind of community, you're committing to being a part of our community. So there's some stuff that we want to make sure members are aware of expectations, kind of respecting the equipment, respecting yourself, respecting others, using care with tools, putting tools back, only using tools that you're trained on. Obviously, safety is incredibly important in the makerspace. And that's why we really want to encourage and empower leaning into asking members and volunteers. If you don't know something, or there's a lot of times where you get trained in an area and then not come back a month later and you'll need to kind of refresh. So we always definitely want you to be asking questions to keep the space safe. And then cleaning up after yourself. And we actually encourage cleaning up like 10% more, because if that happened, the space would always be clean. That doesn't happen, but we encourage it. Being kind to others, that's a huge piece of our space. We like to introduce members to each other as much as we can, really kind of building on community and culture in the space. We do give a priority to classes that are in session because a lot of them aren't members. And the members are the community that feel really comfortable with the space. So we want to give class members a little more energy as far as having them when they're in a class, that a member won't come up to the table where the class is at, start a project, or be really loud when a class is happening. Just be really mindful of class participants having a good experience. Being respectful with noise, cleaning up, and then if you see something, say something. We want to always empower our community to hold each other accountable, but also hold us accountable for making the space clean and safe. We also community connections. So we have a lot of ways to connect. We have a Facebook page, an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a Twitter. We definitely encourage everybody to become of one or all of them. We use Slack, so you'll get invited to Slack after this orientation. And the Slack channel is our way of communicating. There's a general member channel, there's a just general channel, and that's where our members, like if they're doing something out in the community, they want the members to know and support, they'll put it on the general channel. If there's just a general member announcement, that'll go on there. And then each studio or room have a channel so that there's like this more internal community conversation. There's a facility channel. So if you see something in the facility that could be an issue or you want to bring awareness to, it's a really easy way to like take a photo and post it on Slack, and that way we can see it. And because that end-to-end communication falls flat a lot of the time. So this is our way of having a space for that. And then as a member, you get our monthly newsletter that always has our class calendar. It talks about our programs that are happening, updates on the Pleasant Street School project, and other announcements. It's a pretty full newsletter every month. Some special events that we have around the space. We have member skill shares. These are really ad hoc. These are more for, we really want members to share their skills and make that connection. So if a member is working on a project and they are going to be doing something really cool that they want to share, they'll get in touch with us and say, on Thursday, I'm going to be doing this. I'd like to do a member share. And so we put it out to the community on Slack and via email, and then we'll put signs around the space. And we encourage members to if they're here, definitely we'll go around and tell everybody that's about to happen. But if they're not, to come in and share and see the member that's presenting. We also have quarterly maker mixers as a way. This is open up to the entire community. as a way to have members and volunteers all connect with each other and the community. It's on the third Wednesday of each quarter, so the next one will be in March. And sometimes, we have members that are musicians, so sometimes there's some live music. We always have food and refreshments, and we'll try to have some theme or activity. So those happen 4 times a year. We also have a member appreciation day, and that usually happens in June, kind of right before summer break. That is kind of a member volunteer only party where we just really want to, again, connect people and show our appreciation to the community. And then we have an annual remake festival that is on Earth Day, and that is a festival that is open to the community and to showcase how to use a community makerspace to repurpose, recycle, and upcycle things. And we have lots of events on how to fix your lamp, how to fix a stained glass piece, how to repair a chair. So that's a really fun event on Earth Day, and we are always looking for people for the event committee because we'd like to have more events in the space. So accessing the makerspace, kind of like how to get in, how to get around. So this is the map of the full space where all of the studios are located. The arrow kind of drop down is where you're coming in from the Orange Innovation Center. When you come in that entrance, you'll see that we have that member board that has information specifically for members. We have the newsletter that we send out. We also print out so people can see what's happening. And then this is where you will sign in and out every time that you come into the space. And then in each room, there's these community tables. So in art and design, there's these large tables that you can take your project and work at. In pottery, there's the general community tables. In the design room, every room has a space. So these tables that you see are spaces to work on projects. We are always trying to, there's a lot of time where as we're growing and more people are using the space that people will leave their projects on the space. So we're trying to encourage people to always clean up these work surfaces when you're done with them, put your projects back so that the next person can use them. And then you can use in the rear of the building by the laundromat is the loading dock, and that loading dock gets you to the freight elevator. So if you're loading in large materials or loading out a large project, you can use the freight elevator, and then you just ask staff or a steward, you kind of schedule it with them and they can help you. And then there is, if you are using the back entrance, there's also a ramp to get up if you have something on wheels. There at the front of the building, there's also a ramp and a passenger elevator if you have smaller things to bring up. So some general safety. Around the space are these emergency maps, which tell you directions to the exits around the space. It also tells you where every first aid kit is, eye wash station, fire extinguisher are. So every room has a first aid kit, an eye wash station, and fire extinguisher. So we just encourage people to really acclimate themselves about where these are, because in any case of emergency, trying to find it, you get kind of scatterbrained. So we really want people to be like, I know exactly where it is, and they're well marked. Also emergency contact info, which has, the staff list, but it also has our local hospital, fire, everything you'll need to know if in the case of a specific type of emergency. Another safety thing is, of course, there's lots of equipment around the space that can be hazardous. So we have a lockout procedure. So this is when a piece of equipment has become unsafe, is hazardous, or is broken. We have lockout tags that are located in the large project storage area. So whenever something has become dangerous, we really want to be quick about putting this tag on it so that anybody who comes to that piece of equipment after you will not try and use it and get hurt. So knowledge and training. So we have this skills matrix to communicate who of our volunteer stewards and trainers are trained on what. This is located in the entryway. So you can, if you have a question about a piece of equipment, you can go to this board and see who has what level of knowledge in our community. And if they're in the space, you can definitely go and ask them. If they're not in the space, you can reach out to them via email or Slack. And then we also have these training boards in woodworking. This is where, obviously, when you get trained on something, we want a way to communicate that to our volunteers so our volunteer knows what you can use. So you'll see these smaller member-based training matrices around the space as well. Some consumables and stuff. So we do have consumables around the space to purchase as a convenience, but a lot of members do bring in their own supplies. If it's hazardous, there's a process you need to ask a steward. And I'll talk about how to store and label them. But if you're purchasing consumables from us, there's checkout stations in every room with that icon. And at each checkout station are the invoices where you list the supplies that you are purchasing, and you can pay with cash or card. We always try to have everything clearly labeled with pricing. But if you're not seeing that, please ask a steward or volunteer, or if there's something that you have questions, let us know, because as we're growing and we have new members, we've had a founding membership here for a really long time that, you just get used to the way it is. And now we have all these new members. So if there's ways that we can improve you having independence in the space through signage and labels, please let us know so we can make sure we get it done. And then the consumables are located throughout the space. Like I said, if something is not labeled, we do have a lot of free supplies as well, because we get things donated. You just want to ask a volunteer, ask a steward, and we'll get it labeled. And then where to find things, supplies and stuff. So we have this GPS system, quote unquote, that we try to, because there's so many tools around this space, we want a way that we know at least what room it is in. So we have this color-coded map that you'll see around the space, and each room is a specific color. This is also next to the volunteer skills matrix in the entryway that also lists the equipment in each room that you need to have training on, because there's an orientation, a general orientation, studio orientation, and then you need to get trained on some of the specific equipment space. So you can see here as an example, things that are labeled in yellow go in the small project studio. You can see there on the right, all of those cleaning stuff have the pink tape on it, so that all of those are in the robotics and IT room. We definitely encourage and ask that if you see something with a pink label in the metal shop or wood shop, that you bring it back to the robotics and IT room, so we can always kind of keep things in their locations. And then the small project studio, this is located in the robotics and IT room. This is a space that's always, being changed and improved. What we found is that members would be working on a project and they need a screwdriver, or they need duct tape, or they need a hammer, like all these commonly used tools that we don't necessarily want in every studio, but we want to have available. So this small project studio, if you need something, there's wire strippers and all kinds of random small hand tools in that space. Go and check there. And if you can't find us, again, let us know, because if it is something that we're seeing is commonly used, we will try to resource it so that it's available to everybody. And then community computers. So we do have community laptops in your member contract. There's the rules that are outlined around how to use our computers. They're usually kept behind the front desk, and you can sign them out and then bring them back, and you can use them around the space. Some of them they're labeled with the programs that are on them. Like some of them will have Adobe or Inkscape or things for design around the space, and so you can sign, those are available to members. And then kind of getting your projects around the space, or getting materials, or things around space. We do have a lot of carts. We have furniture dollies. We have these hand trucks. And so these are all located around the space. Again, some of them are labeled with their room color. What we found is that, the wood shop would have all of the carts and we couldn't find them anywhere. So we started labeling the carts. And so if you see a cart in the wrong room, please bring it to the right room. And most of the furniture dollies and larger hand trucks are located in the by the freight elevator. So project and material storage. So of course, we have a lot of people using the space, limited storage. So we do have some rules about how to store. So we're looking, we ask that members store materials for a short time frame for projects that they know they're going to be working on. So we really ask that only materials for active projects are in the space so that we have enough storage for our growing membership. If you're finding that you're not working on a project, you can remove, we ask that you remove the materials. So we're not, if you have a project that you might be working on, or you don't have a time frame for it, we're asking that you just don't just store your materials here. That is always something that we're working on and overseeing, because people do tend to store materials for long periods of time, and our membership is growing. So we're trying to control that a little bit more over the next year. And then storing hazardous materials, we do have a process for that, which I'll talk about in the next couple slides. But we try obviously not to have hazardous materials and liquids in the space, but if we do, there is a process. And then we ask that you don't have more than 3 projects at a time, again, to make sure there's enough space for all the members. So then when you are storing, we ask that you use project tags, and there are project tags located next to every checkout station with a marker. So these are laminated project tags. The blue one is for every project, so we know whose it is, how long it's been here, and we can communicate if we need to about the project and storage. The green is a pass. That is really for that you need to get authorized by a staff or steward. Though the pass is if you have a project that needs to stay on a workstation, that it's gluing up, or it's a large project like a sculpture that's in a walkway area, something where it's going to be in the way for the community. We just want to authorize that, just so we don't have situations where people are storing large projects all over and then it affects the member experience. So we just want to get that type of storage authorized. And then food storage. So we do have our cafe, the coffee and tea, and related beverages. Those are free, and those are stocked and donated by members and volunteers. So they are free to the community. You're more than welcome to join in on bringing things in and donating them. If you leave anything in the refrigerator or kitchen, definitely label it. It's considered common space. It's kind of like living with roommates. Clean up after yourself, wash your dishes, put the dishes back, and then putting your name on stuff, because if it's good and it's not labeled, people will eat it. And so, and then, throw out, if you see something in the fridge that's spoiled, like milk, which happens quite a bit, just, feel free to throw it out. And then the hazardous material storage. So around the space, you'll see this map on the left are the locations of the cabinets where you would store hazardous material if it's been approved. That way we know exactly what is in the space and where it's located. And then we do have lockers. So right now, members have access to lockers. We will start charging for lockers after the new year. But right now there's lockers in every room and in the cafe. And you can come in. They're usually used for daily use, but some people will come bring in a lock. If they want a longer term locker, they will bring in you provide the lock, and you can store your, small tools, small projects, personal items in the lockers. And we just ask that you put your name on it with a piece of masking tape or something so we know whose it is. We do have a lost and found. That is behind the admin desk. So if you lose something, you can go and check here. We kind of have a process. So after a couple of weeks, it goes into the take. Members can take it. And then after a few weeks that we actually ended up donating it, or it goes into, we do have an area where materials have been donated or left, and that's free for the members to access. So waste removal and cleaning, how to keep the space clean. So every studio has kind of specific guidelines around waste removal. Stained glass is different than wood, which is different than pottery. So you'll go through the specific studio waste removal and cleanup during the studio orientations. But you always want to leave work surfaces clear, put projects away, labeled using the lockers or storage bays. We ask that you don't put liquids in trash, put it down the sink or wherever it goes, going through the orientation, studio orientation. And we ask that all food only go in the cafe trash, just so we don't have food kind of all in all these different trashes, because sometimes a trash won't, if it's not full, it won't get taken out for a few weeks, and that can get gross if there's food in it. So heavy and bulky items, by the backside of the freight elevator towards the wood shop. That's kind of where we put trash. So the trash is taken out every Thursday. So we ask members throughout the week, if there is a full trash, just take it and close it up and put it by the backside of the freight elevator. Makes it a lot easier for our volunteer who takes out the trash on Thursday. You could also leave large and bulky. That's where you would leave large and bulky items. You do want to get kind of some level of oversight over what's being thrown away. There's also cardboard and recycling breakdown and our mixed stream recycling over there. We also have special spots in these locations on the map on the left for sharp blades, X-Acto knives, things like that. If they are becoming dull or don't work anymore, we want to not throw them in the trash. We have special containers for those. And then same thing with oily rags, another hazardous thing. We have special locations, these red buckets around the space, which are specific for oily rag disposal. And then the community contribution board. So with all of this, with a large community, a large space, we really want to have a community philosophy around everybody pitching in. And so we ask that we have these, quick tasks that are between 15 and 30 minutes. So kind of everybody did that when they were here. We have the cleanest space ever. So we just ask that people do it, if you're here once if you did 30 minutes once a month, if every member did 30 minutes once a month, the space would be completely clean and organized all the time. And then, so room cleaning, every room has a setup of brooms, mops, Swiffer, and paper towels and Simple Green. The mop buckets are kept near the mop sink. So we do have, this is the only sink in the space. So we really work on keeping it as decluttered as we can. So this is where you'd find watering cans for the plants. This is where we have where you'd wash your dishes. This is also where, if you end up mopping, this is where the mop and buckets are kept, and also the wet floor. So if you ever are required to mop or create a wet floor, there's the wet floor signs there as well. And this is where extra trash bags are kept, gloves, other, heavier cleaning supplies are all kept in this area. So part of having food in a maker community is that we need to be really clear about what a food sponge is and what a maker sponge is. So we have a system that a food sponge is usually looks much newer, but a maker sponge is a sponge that has been used for food or has been accidentally used for something that was non-food, and we will cut the corner off so that way you always know what's a maker sponge and what's a food sponge, and they're clearly labeled at the sink as well. Same thing with bowls. We were donated a bunch of these bowls and we started using them for food. Of course, some of them started being used for making. So we found a system with a permanent X, very simple system of putting an X on the bottom. So any bowl that has an X on the bottom is a maker bowl, and we actually store those in paint because that's where they get used the most. So you can have visitors and guests. They just can't use equipment. And they need to sign in and out, and they are the responsibility of the host member. And pets and service animals. So we don't allow pets unless there's a special circumstance, or it's a service animal. Of course, you are responsible for the pet while in the space. We try, obviously, there's some hazardous and safety issues with having a pet in a makerspace, so we try to keep that as limited as possible. So what's next with your membership? So you're going to sign up for your studio orientation. All members are required, and they're all free except the wood shop. And so these links, you'll get emailed this slide deck orientation, so you have it for review, because there's a ton of information here. But these are all links to sign up for the studio orientation that you're interested in, and we can get you signed up. And then just for continuing conversations, if you're wanting to know more information about the operations of the organization, fundraising, or the Pleasant Street School Project, you can reach out to me. If you have questions about memberships and programs, you can reach out to Sid Nordstrom. And if you have, if you want information or connection around the Community Garden Food Access Program, you can reach out to our Food Access Coordinator, Michelle Gilman. And that is the studio, or the general orientation.